Schools change very slowly. They're one of the most conservative institutions on the planet. And technology changes ever so fast. And there is a disconnect there.
There's been a lot of attention paid over the past couple of years to the notions of bringing technology into schools. And we discovered very quickly that actually doesn't make much of a difference if you just bring a laptop into a school.
Katie Salen is a professional game designer who helped found Quest to Learn. Quest to Learn is a one-year-old public middle school in New York City where the curriculum is based on video games.
So it's a school that uses digital media as part of the curriculum. And it's also a school that's been designed from the ground up around the intrinsic qualities of games as learning spaces. So that doesn't mean that kids are playing video games all day, but it does mean that the learning at Quest to Learn is structured in a game-like way.
If I said to somebody, my students are playing video games in school, yes, but we're not playing video games. We're actually building video games. And there's a distinction.
Well, we make our own. We also play others to get inspiration. And we also kind of try to modify, as we call it, mod other games.
We are building our own world. But we're doing it in teams. So kids are assuming roles. Who's the set designer? Who's the writer? Who's the director? Who's the costume designer? Who's the script writer? So all of those roles that these kids assume force them to work collaboratively. So it allows us to sort of take knowledge from one domain and express it in another, which is the definition of higher order thinking. We say that a game is a system, and systems are made of parts, and those parts are related to each other.
Rules-based goals. Rules-based goals. Components, core mechanics.
When we look at fractions as a system that has components, the numerator, the denominator. How do those components relate? What happens when you change one? So systems thinking is really our curriculum, which is based on New York State standards, and it's a very deep and rich way of looking at the world.
Well, it's really studying is like systems thinking and stuff, so if you're ever going to build any sort of system, you would know how and you would know why it works, and if you would observe anything, you would know why it works.
I knew that there was going to be game-like learning and that we would learn game design. Then there would be a lot of media involved, and I really like those kind of things, so I was really excited to hear that, and I right away said I'm going here, and I'm having a great time and learning a lot of stuff, only in a funner way.
To me, one of the fascinating things is that he is, totally engaged and doesn't want to miss time from school, and
right.
And he's not a nerd. He likes it.
And also they learn a lot of things about every other subject, like every other school. But also computers for them and games and movies for them is a non-issue, just like a tool.
Tools like video games have become important enough that researchers are trying to figure out how they can help in all classrooms.
Certainly knew what you were doing.
At NYU, Jan Ploss and a group of kids are trying to identify what makes commercial games so engaging.
It used to be that games were looked at as the time waster, just violent. And now I think the public begins to understand that there is a whole variety of different game genres and begins to understand that this is such a popular medium that this might actually be something that helps us learn. The industry knows how to build entertainment games. Learning games is a very different focus, has very different requirements. Here we are still at the very beginning.
I thought it was pretty weird. I thought the game would be boring, but they were pretty fun. I actually enjoyed myself. I guess your parents won't bother you a lot with playing that game because it's like an educational game, so you can play as much as you want. They're clubbing up together.
Games are incredibly complex, not only to design, but also to study. And in order to produce the kind of data that would convince policymakers to allow us to use those games on a massive scale in school settings, much more research needs to be conducted to provide that data, and much more funding is required.
It would be awesome to play video games at school. Right now, I would be so happy. I would be so happy I would cry.